There's been an important legal development in the Supreme Court. The centre has made a categorical stand on the Uniform Civil Code. They've said that the UCC is ideal and desirable, but the court cannot direct the implementation of the UCC. The court cannot meddle as it's entirely a legislative and a policy decision. This is the submission made by Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, to the Supreme Court. Now, this follows a submission where a plea had been made before the court to frame uniform rules for divorce, adoption, as well as guardianship, and also maintenance, alimony, and succession, as well as inheritance. These are all, after all, components of a uniform civil code. And there was an exchange between the bench as well as Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, where the Solicitor General has made it categorical that this ultimately needs to come from the legislature and the executive. This is not in the domain of the courts. Let me go across to Harish for all the updates from that hearing. Yes, Harish, what can you tell us about the message that went to the Supreme Court bench from the Government of India, represented by Mr. Tushar Mehta?
Yes, Siddharth. In fact, the Supreme Court bench led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud was hearing a batch of petitions filed by Ashwini Upadhyay, who had sought religion-neutral, gender-neutral laws as far as, this divorce, maintenance, alimony, guardianship and inheritance were concerned. And remember, all these are components of the UCC. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that, in fact, the petitioner is indirectly asking for a direction to the court to ask the center to implement the uniform code, but this is not acceptable because as far as the government center is concerned, UCC is acceptable, ideal, desirable, and very significantly that the government is seized of the UCC, but there is a rider that this cannot come through a writ petition. These are policy decisions, realm of the legislature, domain of the parliament, and there cannot be a mandamus from a court like the Supreme Court to the government to enact a UCC. The government very clearly said that it is seized of the issue, and
yes,
it is matters before the 22nd Law Commission.
That's correct.
Government is in touch with the Law Commission as far as exploring the feasibility of a UCC is concerned, but the court cannot interfere.
Harish, what's also very important to highlight to our viewers is that in previous judgments that have been delivered by the Supreme Court, while the Supreme Court in many judgments has batted for a UCC, it has always said, and it's been fairly consistent, that this is entirely the matter for the government to act upon, and that this is firmly within the executive and the legislative domain.
Yes, a very relevant question from you, Siddharth. Remember, as you rightly put, in 1985 in Shabano case, yes, 1995 in Sarala Mudgal case, 2003 in John Vellamattam case also, the Supreme Court had called upon the government to enact a uniform civil code, but a refrain to issue direction said that it is even those three times the Supreme Court had said that it is the domain of the legislature and parliament should enact UCC, and it's up because directive principles of state policy had clearly said that the government should endeavor to draft for its citizens a uniform civil code across the territory of India. So following that, in fact, the Modi government had asked the Law Commission under Justice B.S. Chauhan, but B.S. Chauhan committee, in fact, that Law Commission had elapsed. His tenure, yes, had ended. After that, now the 22nd Law Commission will also be entrusted by the government with the task, and once the report comes, the government said that it will consult all the stakeholders and then take a decision whether to go forward with the UCC or not.
Harish, since Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, made it fairly categorical in court that this is entirely in the domain of the government and the legislature, what was the response that came from the CJI to that specific submission?
Yes, in fact, for the benefit of the viewers, I will read out what exactly was the Supreme Court order. Yes. Supreme Court Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud wrote, central government has submitted that it it is the principle in principle favors gender neutral, religion neutral laws, but such an intervention can only be through legislative process. Therefore, we are not entertaining these petitions under Article 32. The power lies exclusively within the domain of the legislature.
Okay, Harish, I need to interrupt you. We have the KPCC president, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar.